For years, I thrived in the high-pressure business world, but the workaholic life finally caught up with me. I was 35, very overweight, in chronic pain with severe mobility issues, terrible diet, no exercise. My health was a complete wreck. Then I went to a gentle yoga class and felt truly relaxed. The stress just melted away. I went from a size 18 to a size 8. I stopped getting sick. Pain disappeared. I learned to open my heart and I felt happy for the first time in years. So I said goodbye to the business world and started teaching. Yoga doesn't have to be strenuous. The easiest movements can trigger major release of chronic symptoms no matter your age.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Hello, I'm Deborah Devine. Welcome to Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems. That was me in the opening video. I had lots of real problems before finding gentle yoga, and my unhealthy lifestyle was getting me down. I was starting to experience frequent depression. And Zoomers are equally at risk for depression as everyone. And the older we get, the harder it can be to come out of the isolation of this condition. Based on my experience and that of my students, I've chosen a yoga series that can bring peace and joy to the many Zoomers who are dealing with depression. And the practice is so easy, anyone can do it. You don't have to be in great shape to start. So we're going to get out of our cells and get grounded during an invigorating warm-up. Then we'll bring our brain chemistry into balance with some seated poses. Next, we'll pump lots of fresh breath into our hearts and lungs before calming the mind in a very relaxing cool down. The poses are so easy that you might not think that they're doing anything. But do the whole series, or if you're busy, just 1 or 2 poses, and you'll notice your mood improving. Let's start the healing. Joining me today, Anita and Jennifer. And all of us are going to experience a wonderful relief from some of our symptoms of depression. We're going to come into the warm-up pose, Tadasana, the mountain pose. So coming into the center of the mat, heels out, toes in, coming back onto the heels and feeling the upper legs really strengthening. We're allowing the in-breath to come up the front line of the body, lifting everything in its path. And then exhaling down the back line, grounding the sit bones down, the heels down. Next time an in-breath comes along, we'll take the arms out and up, reaching, lifting the ribs off of the pelvis, exhaling, hands to heart. Inhaling and lifting, we're harvesting oxygen up here, prana. Exhaling deep into the heart space. Another in-breath, lifting and reaching up, spreading the fingers nice and wide, exhaling, hands to heart. We're moving our energy up towards the arms, up towards the heart. Let's come in, another long, slow, smooth in-breath. And then at the top of the in-breath, we'll just pause for a moment, and then we'll exhale, moving over to the left, creating space between the bottom of the ribs and the top of the hips on the right side. Coming back to center on the inhalation, and then exhaling onto the opposite side. Pressing down with the left foot, opening up through the left side. Coming back on the in-breath, going over to the right side or the left side. Opening up the sides, opening up the diaphragm. We've got to get some breath deep into the bottom of the lungs. Let's keep going a few more rounds, just taking it to a place where you can experience a nice feeling of a stretch. Coming back to center. Hands come to heart space. We'll do a few more sun breaths. Inhaling and reaching up. Feel how much more light it feels to reach. Exhaling, hands to heart space. Press the palms together. Move the shoulders away from each other. Inhaling. Moving the arms out and up in these sun breaths is a wonderful way to take us out of the thinking mind and bring us into this idea of moving outwards, expanding. When we're in a depressed state, we want to come into a cocoon and using our arms to open up the heart chakra. We're starting to get more breath. We're starting to open up the heart center. We're starting to feel a little bit more alive and a little bit more connected to the outside world. Please continue these sun breaths and side bends to increase the prana and oxygen you're bringing into your body. And we'll be back in a few moments to deal with more symptoms with depression. And I'll see you in a moment.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. About 15 years ago, I was diagnosed with clinical depression. I was seeing a therapist, and I was trying to make other changes to my life as well. I took medication, I looked at changes to my diet, and my therapist suggested that I start to practice yoga. So I began to take classes. It was difficult at first because one definition of depression is when you turn anger inwards. So it's about really not taking care of yourself and not being kind to yourself.
Welcome back. We are enjoying a gentle practice to help us with symptoms of depression. Now, Jennifer, tell me a little bit about your self-care strategies in dealing with some of the symptoms.
When I was in the heart or the depths of my depression, it's really hard to take care of yourself at all. I just felt hopeless and not wanting to be part of the world. And so yoga, even getting to class was tough then as well. But through yoga, I've learned to really make time for myself, to take care of myself. It's an integral part of healing.
That's so wonderful. This idea of expanding and coming back out into the world, that's a wonderful theme I'd like to work with the next sequence of moves. We're going to be coming down into cow and cat. So we're on all fours, and Jennifer is going to protect her knees with a blanket, or a rolled up towel would be wonderful for you as well. So the palms are wide on the mat, fingertips touching the outside edge. And the knees and the feet and the hips are in the same plane. We're going to take an exhalation and tuck the sit bones and tailbone underneath, dropping the head, looking through to the feet. Inhaling, tailbone and sit bones come up, and we drop the spine, opening the heart and moving the gaze up. Exhaling, coming back into this arched Halloween cat, and then into our sacred cow, moving into the in-breath. Now, the next time an out-breath comes along, we're just going to wait for a moment, pressing the belly up to the front spine. And then the next time an out-breath comes along, we'll take the left leg back. Take a few moments here if you need to get a little bit more stable in the pose here. If you feel ambitious, maybe you could take your right arm out and create this wonderful balance. We're taking a long, slow, smooth in-breath and a long, slow, smooth out-breath. The back leg is getting a bit of an inner rotation, creating some space in the SI joint. And the front arm, this right arm, is rotating externally. This is expanding us from the heart center, through the belly, out through the fingertips and the toes. Let's come back to cows and cats. We'll take one cow, one cat, and then we'll extend the opposite leg, reaching the opposite leg out, pressing through the heel, giving the leg a bit of an inner spiral. This is a wonderful way to get some length deep underneath the belly muscles, the belly organs, the psoas, that muscle that activates when we're engaging the fight-flight aspect of the nervous system. Reach the arm out. The left arm comes out. Draw the shoulder blade down the back, rotate the upper arm externally, spread the fingers nice and wide. Let the out-breath be complete. Feel the belly come to the front spine. Squeeze the glutes and reach. Now we'll come back to center. Sit bones come down. Belly comes up to the front spine. Broaden through the collarbones and press down through the base of the index finger. Inhale, cat, cow. Lifting the sit bones, dropping the heart, lifting the gaze. Now, exhaling, bringing the left leg in and squeezing it up into the belly, and then inhaling and lengthening the left leg out. Right arm comes out. Here we are balancing again. We're creating a wonderful movement deep in the belly organs. Our serotonin is produced in large quantities in the belly, so we're really opening things up and squeezing out the old here. Come back to center, and we'll take the opposite side. So the right foot, right knee is coming in, squeezing into the belly, and then extending through the heel. Engaging the glutes, reaching out, inner spiral, left arm comes out. Use the breath. Breathe deeply into the lower belly. Breathe deeply in towards the front of the spine. And then coming back, a couple of cows, cats. Now, we're going to come into prayer pose, and we'll be threading our arm through the opposite side. We spread the fingers nice and wide, bring the forehead to the ground, and just surrender. Take the shoulder blades down the back, broaden through the shoulder shelf, and allow the inner crease of the elbow to rise up, externally rotating the upper arm. Let the sit bones and the tailbone come back. Extend the spine. Let the out-breath be complete. Feel the belly come up toward the front spine, moving energy out of the low belly here. Now inhale and come forward, and let's take the right arm and we'll thread it through the left side, resting the shoulder on the ground and the temple as well. Now your left arm can be nice and long, or it can be bent, and we're going to take 5 long, slow, smooth, and complete in and out breaths. We're allowing the area behind the heart to open up. We're allowing this area behind the heart, in between the shoulder blades, to melt open. We're also melting the front of the heart open as well. As you take long, slow, smooth, and complete in and out breaths, you'll notice that your spine is starting to let go. That it's becoming a little bit easier to move your arm through this needle. Now, coming back to center, slowly, a couple of cows and cats, and then please continue on the opposite side and continue to take a couple of variations. Do what feels best. If you're in the pain zone, come back and find that place between comfort and discomfort and work the breath in that boundary. We'll see you in a few moments, and we'll be working with more symptoms of depression.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
One of the symptoms I had of clinical depression was anxiety attacks. They could hit at any time. I was never really prepared for them. But through yoga, I learned how to focus on my breathing, to calm myself down, to really be present. And through that, I was able to get myself through those bouts of anxiety. The other thing that yoga brought was just an awareness of my body, of really being present and of being allowed in the world and being grounded and part of the whole community. And that was very important to me when I had been feeling so isolated for so many years.
Welcome back. We've been working with symptoms of depression. And for this next sequence, we're going to be continuing on this theme of lifting. We're going to be opening up the heart. We're going to be opening up the ribs. When we're experiencing symptoms of depression, sometimes our breath is very shallow, and we're only breathing up here in the upper part of the lungs. So this next sequence is going to introduce more breath down into the lower parts of the lungs at the back, where we have a much higher concentration of those air sacs that move oxygen and carbon dioxide in and out of the body. We're going to be activating some serotonin deep in the belly organs, and we're going to feel absolutely wonderful after this next sequence. So we'll be taking a bolster or a rolled up blanket onto the side of the hip for a side bend. The bottom knee is bent, the top leg is long, and we inhale, lengthen the front of the spine, exhale, drape ourselves over the bolster, resting the head on the lower arm. We're getting a little bit more deep into the belly organs, into the psoas. We're stretching that muscle out because that's the one that activates when we're feeling stressed. Let's engage dorsiflexion. The foot is strong, heel strong. Inhale the arm up and over. Grab onto it with the lower hand and pull. Open up the ribs. Take a long, slow, smooth, and complete in-breath, making more space between the bottom of the ribs and the top of the hips. And then we're going to exhale the arm down and then come up. Using our upper body strength, we'll switch sides. Bringing the bolster right up to the hip, lengthening the spine on the in-breath, and draping yourself over. Breathing in light and spaciousness, exhaling tension, exhaling holding. Now, we'll come up again using our upper body strength, and we'll be coming into a back bend. We're using the bolsters to support us in this modified version of bridge. So for Jennifer, we're taking 2 bolsters. You could use a rolled up blanket, rolled up towels. And then Jennifer, you can put your hindquarters right here, and we'll be draping ourselves over the short edge of the bolster here. Then, using the arms to support us as we come down, letting the shoulder blades rest down onto the ground. So you can lengthen the back of the neck. We're letting the shoulder shelf rest on the ground. Wonderful. Lengthening the back of the neck, letting the chin drop, and opening the heart. Now, starting with bent knees is a wonderful idea if you've got low back challenges. Anita has a wonderful example of a supported bridge. The knees are bent, the feet are a little bit wider than hip width apart, heels are out, toes are in, and there's an inner spiral of the upper leg bones. Using Jennifer as an example here, this is going to help the low back, the SI joints. We're allowing the muscles of the hip rotators to widen, and that is just allowing the back of the hips to rest nicely. So we've got this wonderful open heart happening here. And then we can also create a support so that we can spend more time in this pose. If you can spend 5 or 10 minutes in this pose, it will do wonders for your outlook. Opening the heart is an important part of our practice when we're working with depression symptoms. So Jennifer, why don't you raise this foot, and I'll slide this loop through here. And then we'll raise the other foot, and I'll slide it through here. And then you can lengthen one leg at a time. Yeah, fantastic. And then we're going to create that inner spiral of the upper leg bones again. So there's one, there's the other. Things are widening out through here. And now, Jennifer, are you feeling good here? Mm-hmm. Excellent. If there's any pinchiness in the low back, come to bent knees. That's a very good way to take the pose as well. By using a belt and creating a little bit of security above the knees, now the legs can let go of themselves. Now the belly starts to let go. There's no holding going on here. There's this wonderful lifting up through the back of the heart, opening the clamshell of the ribs, revealing the pearl there. If the back of your head and your shoulders are not making contact with the floor, take an extra blanket or take another towel and give yourself a little bit of padding back there. Please continue to enjoy this pose for the next few minutes, and we'll be back with some more wonderful yoga poses for depression.
Healing Yoga. Yoga for real people with real problems.
Spending time in nature is an excellent way to change our brain chemistry and increase prana and vitality. Don't wait to drive up to the cottage. Find a walking or hiking trail nearby. Go to a beautiful public park or garden and breathe deeply while you take in the beautiful sights.
Welcome back. We've been dealing with symptoms of depression in this practice. We have opened up the heart. We have calmed the mind. We have stimulated and activated the relaxation response. And for this final pose, we're just going to rest and allow all of this prana, all of this life force and vitality to penetrate every cell. The pose we're going to be going into is Mountain Brook pose. So Anita, I'd like to set you up with 2 bolsters, one for your knees and one for the back. You could be using rolled up blankets or rolled up towels for this as well. I'm going to take a blanket and place it in between the 2 bolsters, and then you can just rest your hindquarters there and drape yourself over both of these bolsters. We have another blanket here to provide some support to Anita for the shoulder shelf and the back of the neck. Using your arms to come back, using the strength of your arms to help you down, and then lifting your arms up and over. There are a couple of different ways you could be placing your arms. You could actually be letting your arms be in cactus position with bent elbows. You could also be taking your arms all the way up and over to increase the length that we're creating on the front of the spine. Maybe you'd like to draw your hands a little bit closer to your head with the elbows bent. And then we're just going to lengthen the legs one at a time. Give the legs a bit of an inner spiral, creating some space in the low back, creating some space for the SI joints. And then we just surrender the legs. We surrender the legs and we surrender ourselves completely to these supports. Now, these bolsters are acting as boulders in a mountain stream. So the water is flowing over the obstacles. And this is a wonderful pose to be thinking about when we're dealing with symptoms of depression. We have thoughts that come up. And yoga helps us remember that we are not our thoughts. We are the people thinking these thoughts. And when we can slow down the mind, we can sort of step back and come into this aspect of the higher mind. This aspect of the higher mind does not criticize or compare or judge or speak harshly. This is the aspect of the mind that is observing and watching in a detached and kind way. This is the aspect of the mind that we want to identify with. The lower aspect of the mind, the manas, according to ancient yogic scholars, is the aspect of the mind where thoughts just churn up. And these are not thoughts that are necessarily true. Some of them may be, but we keep coming back to that idea of observing the thoughts without getting attached and without following the plot line and continuing on that train of thought. Please continue with your tranquility pose for at least another 20 minutes, resting peacefully. And we'll see you again next time on Healing Yoga. Namaste.